Hi everyone, John Cottrell here of MBODY Yoga, and this is Soft Flow Yoga. It's a 60-minute gentle yoga practice. If you're a yoga beginner or even a seasoned practitioner, you're very welcome to practice with me. So for our practice, we're going to be working up towards a posture that's called Half Lord of the Fishes. And in Sanskrit, that's Ardha Matsyasandra. It's a tongue twister. I'll say more about that and what that is exactly, but let me just first say that it is a sitting posture. It has a twist involved and some binding, so that's how we'll be working up towards Half Lord of the Fishes. Okay, here's our props that we'll be needing for our practice today. So something soft to sit on and kneel on, so just a blanket or a towel that you can fold up. You want to grab a couple of yoga blocks or some hardbound books like that. We use that for our bridge pose, our supported bridge pose, which is a back bend. We always do that in our class. If you'd like, maybe a big soft pillow or cushion. I use my yoga bolster. Sometimes I like to have it handy just in case for a little extra support. And because we're doing some binding today. Now this is completely optional because you don't have to have these props. I've got two things that you can potentially use for this. One, just a yoga strap. It's just a way of making your arms longer, okay? So a yoga strap, it could be a belt, a necktie, jump rope, something like that, or it can even just be a small hand towel. It doesn't have to be too long like a jump rope, but even just something like this is just a very small hand towel that I have. So that's all you'll need. And again, these are completely optional. Don't necessarily need these. Let's go ahead and begin our practice. And of course, we like to start in seated. So find your comfortable seat. Make sure you're sitting up nice and tall with a nice lengthened spine. Even take a moment just to check in with your shoulders. Our twisting and binding today do involve our shoulders, so just give them a little shake them up and get them all ready. Just go ahead and let your arms relax down by your side. And just take a few deep breaths. Just breathe in through your nose. You can exhale through your mouth with a soft sigh. Do that again. A nice full breath in and exhale. Good. And just sit in stillness, finding complete release and relaxation as we prepare for our practice together. Now you can do this with your eyes open. If they are open, just take a soft gaze forward or even down at the ground. And of course, you're certainly welcome to close your eyes. And wherever you are, just breathing slowly with intention. So be very aware of the in-breath, inhaling to fill up your lungs, and be aware of the exhale, the out-breath, and how your body is responding to those sensations. Good. Just a nice, simple way of breathing. Becoming fully aware and connected, tuning in. Just continue with your breath here. As you inhale, just feel your breath rising upward, filling up your lungs. And as you exhale, draw your navel inward toward your spine. Nice connection to your center body. Again, as you inhale, just feel the lengthening of your spine, sitting up nice and tall as you fill up your lungs. A very full, deep, and complete breath in. Then as you exhale, draw your belly button in toward your spine. This is called the abdominal lock. We're engaging the abdominal muscles. A very light engagement. You don't have to do that too forcefully. We're just bringing more awareness to the inner being, using breath as our guide. Let's take 3 more breaths. And now we're ready to put the body into motion. A very simple movement. Go ahead and inhale and extend your arms out and up. Just reach into the air. A nice stretch here towards the ceiling. Then exhale, extend your arms out across the room. Feel as if you're going to touch the walls on either side of you. Let your arms come back down by your side. Again, inhale, reaching out, reaching across the room, then eventually up towards the ceiling. And exhale, reaching out, energy through your fingertips all the way out and back down. Now go ahead and continue this on your own. Breathe and move at your own pace. What you may want to pay attention to is the lengthening of your sides as you reach up into the air. You want to feel this lifting sensation like you're getting lighter and longer. And also be aware of your shoulders, being able to take your arms all the way up and then back out and down. So that great mobility we have in the shoulders, allowing us to move our arms really in all directions. Be aware of your breathing. Again, as you inhale, just feel everything rising upward, filling up your lungs. And as you exhale, don't forget to draw belly button in towards spine. Keep that core engagement. It's a wonderful way to help support your body as you're in motion. Now go ahead and finish the breath that you're on and take 2 more breaths. Take your time with this or just go at your own pace. And when you're complete, just bring your arms back down by your side and relax completely. Take a breath. Let's introduce a stretch here, actually a twist right here, since we're going to be doing some twisting with our featured pose, half Lord of the Fishes. So I'm going to try to mirror you. I'm going to take my right hand, just place it out to the side, kind of behind me, and use that back hand as a way to maintain a fully extended spine, so sit up nice and tall. Go ahead and take your left arm and reach out to the side, or towards the corner of the room out in front. Now we're going to inhale and get as tall as can be. Exhale, draw belly in, and then start to rotate or turn towards your right until your body just kind of naturally stops. And then with this left arm, just bring it around, crossing the body, and just bring your hand to the outside of that knee or thigh. And just hold yourself in place right here. Now we really didn't rotate too far, and we really don't need to. It's a very functional rotation, something that our backs, may be able to do with some ease. And since we're holding the posture with breath, we're also doing some conditioning in our core system and actually helping to gain a little bit more flexibility in our hips. Okay, we're going to come out of the pose. First, breathe in and feel tall again. Exhale, draw belly in, again supporting the body as you now move and unwind to face forward. You can go ahead and just bring your arms in your lap and just come back to this neutral position. Take a breath. Let's go ahead and get set up for the other side. So the left hand somewhere behind you or beside you to help lift and lengthen through the torso and spine. Let's take the right hand out to the side or corner of the room. We'll inhale, grow tall on your own. Exhale, pull belly in and start to rotate your torso towards the left side until it just stops. You don't need to force the body to go any further. And then when you do stop, just bring this right arm around, across the body, and just hold on to this outer knee or thigh. Now I had you do that and just back up a little bit, and I had you just have the arm out to the side and turn on your own so that you really get used to using your own musculature and physical system and breath to turn, rather than perhaps placing the hand here first and pulling yourself into the pose. Here is just a way of just anchoring yourself in place. All right, just take one more breath. Now we'll breathe to move. Inhale, feel very tall. Exhale, draw belly in. There's our support. And then we'll unwind, face forward, arms relax by your side. Very good. So we introduced a rotation in our bodies. Let's continue. I'm just going to turn sideways for a better view. Go ahead and take your hands behind you. Just lean back into your fingertips, just like this. And you're going to roll your shoulders back or draw them back. Just help open up through the chest a little bit. Tip your chin up a bit as well, just to create more space across the chest. We're creating a seated, what I call a mild back bend. Now, you're going to inhale, press into the floor with your fingertips, breathing in to fill up your lungs. Feel the breath rising. Feeling that lung expansion. Exhale, draw belly in, the abdominal lock. Do that again. Inhale, feel the air float up. Fill up your lungs. Exhale, draw belly in, and as you're able, a little squeeze of the shoulder blades together behind you. An image you might create here is imagine you're holding onto a pencil right along the spine. You have to squeeze the muscles together to hold on to it. Take 2 more breaths. And then go ahead and lower your chin to neutralize the neck. Walk your hands towards yourself to sit up nice and tall. And again, you can just bring your arms and hands in front of you, relaxing on your lap. Since we did a back bend, let's do a mild forward fold. Here we're going to place our feet together, the soles of the feet together like this, coming into cobbler's pose or bound angle pose. Here's where your blocks or books might come in handy. You can just tuck them underneath the legs right here, just so your legs can actually rest, literally relax on those props. Here you might want to hold on to your feet, your ankles, or even your shins. You want to be able to sit up nice and tall here. Now we'll inhale, feel the lengthening of the spine. Exhale, draw belly in and start to hinge from hips. You're leading with your heart and chin just forward just a little bit. And you don't have to go down too far. Let me just mention something else here as far as this leg posturing. Now, in the pose, a way to do this pose is to, bring the feet together and draw the heels in as close as you can towards your pelvis. Now that does mean a significant bend in the knees. Now if your knees do not bend like this, or this just feels a little bit too uncomfortable, no worries. The feet are still touching, but you can also slide the feet way out front, creating more of a right angle in the legs here, adjusting the blocks accordingly, and that might just feel a bit more comfortable. And you're still doing the pose. It's still a wonderful hip opener. We're still hinging forward a little bit, taking great effect on the spine and our hips, inner legs. All right, 3 more breaths here. And then from here, if the back happened to round in your posture, just lift your chin a little bit, re-extending the spine, maybe hands pressing into the ground to help lift yourself back up until you're nice and tall. We can move our props out of the way. We're going to come to our hands and knees. This is where your blanket will come in handy. So take your time, move accordingly, so you can come to your hands and knees on your own. I like to unfold my blanket to a nice long rectangle so there's space for my knees and my hands like this. And once you're here in this tabletop position, you can join me in cat and cow. It's 2 poses that flow together. It starts with an inhale, moving into cow pose. So it's an inhale like this, lifting the chin, opening the heart, arching the back. It's a back bend. Exhale, we're tucking the pelvis under. Pull your belly button up towards your spine. There's still that core engagement. Your back will round and your chin just kind of tucks in towards your chest. That's cat. Inhale, reversing it, pelvis tips back. We create that back bend. You might feel your belly drop, heart opens, chin lifted. Exhale, round it out. Now I've slowed this down quite a bit, but be sure to move at your own pace. You don't have to move exactly how I'm moving at the moment. What you do want to feel is this nice rocking sensation through the pelvis, so it feels like it's gaining more space. So same with the spine. This nice undulation of the spine, creating all that wonderful space. Okay, we're moving it in this direction, okay, on this plane, but we're also twisting. We're twisting the spine a little bit, so really experiencing and encouraging more space and mobility throughout the spine. All right, finish this breath and take 1 more. And we'll just finish in a little pause on our hands and knees. All righty. Let's go ahead and move off of our pads and set it to the side. Come back to hands and knees so we can get set up for downward facing dog. So you're on your tabletop position like this. You might want to step your hands forward so your wrists are out from underneath your shoulders. Spread out your fingers so that you get a stretch between each finger. Nice flat palms which will press into the mat, which should energize your arms, also straighten the arms. Let them feel very strong. Tuck your toes behind you. And do another cat-cow flow. Inhale, lift your chin, open your heart, arch your back. Exhale, round it out into cat pose. Hold cat for a moment. Dig those toes into the floor so you can lift your knees and then your hips up into the air. You'll be in downward facing dog. You might need to tiptoe forward just a little bit to adjust your feet. I'm also adjusting my hands, just taking them slightly wider so my shoulders and neck don't feel too bound up. Bend your knees a little bit more, and that should allow more mobility in your hips, and as you're able, send them up a little higher. This creates a nice lengthening through the sides of the body, again encouraging much more space through the torso and spine, ready for our twisting positions. Now we've been here a long time. We're going to walk the feet forward, maybe just to the center of your mat until your feet are flat on the mat, and then slide your fingertips towards your toes. You'll be in forward fold for a moment. Then we're going to inhale and slide the hands up the legs, just halfway up, and we're going to pause right here until your back is flat like a table. This is half forward fold. Make sure there's a good bend in the knees. You still feel pretty firm and balanced on 2 feet. Taking a couple breaths, just continuing to elongate through the spine. Continue to feel the belly button pull up towards spine for that nice strong support. Let's get ready to stand. What you'll do is shift your weight and energy back into your heels a bit so you can easily tap your toes here. Bend your knees, feel like you're about to sit down into a low chair. Look up. You create a nice angled upper body but a straight spine. Take your arms out to the side to help you stand, reaching up into the air. Extended mountain pose, a nice stretch. Then exhale, bring your arms down by your sides. So we've made our way to our first standing position. It's mountain pose. And since we're here, let's get into our shoulders again. So maybe circle your shoulders back a few times, just a few circles, and again forward. We're going to do this a movement in the neck too. Very simple. Couple things. Here, just bring your right ear down towards right shoulder. You'll feel that through the left side of your body or the neck. And then come back up to neutral and then just do the other side. You can do that once again if you want on both sides. Bring it back up to neutral. Repeat that if you'd like. Or you can add this other movement. Just a slow turn of your head to the right until it naturally stops. Bring it back to neutral, and then to the other side. Again, just until it naturally stops. Just as we did that seated twist, turning your torso until it naturally stops. And then back to center. All right, let's do our half salute to the sun. Join me here. Starting in mountain pose. Inhale, extend both arms up into the air, big stretch. Exhale, spread your wings, bend your knees, and sit back into an imaginary chair. Bending your knees, you're starting to lower your body. Arms will naturally drop. Head will drop due to gravity. And there's a curvature in the spine. Inhale, slide your hands back up the legs, pausing here in our half forward fold. Stay here. Take a breath or two. Energy in the feet, legs, core, and spine. All up and down the back. Weight shift into the heels, bend your knees, spread your wings. Inhale, reverse your swan dive or come all the way back up to a standing position, reaching into the air. Exhale, bring your arms down to your side. And again, if you'd like, you can shake all that out. All right, let's get into our modified Warrior One position. So Warrior One, of course, is a lunge, but we soften up the lunge a little bit in this first trial. Let's start with a softness in the knees. Bend your knees, shifting your weight now into your right foot, planted strongly into the floor. You might lean forward just a little bit. Your right toes will grip the mat. Picking up the left foot, start tapping it back until it just naturally stops. Flex the foot so your heel is lifted, just like that. Pivot or turn that back foot, shift and plant that whole foot into the floor as your whole body shifts and settles into center. There's our lunge, but not very wide. The right knee and toes are pointing forward. Now, place your hands on your hips. You're going to push your pelvis downward. Feel the torso lifting. We're creating a lot of space, hopefully, in the belt line. So we have the space to kind of turn to face forward. So it's a little bit of a twist, but not too major. Now, inhale, extend your arms up into the air. Exhale, bend your elbows to about 90 degrees. We're just facing forward. Now, imagine your arms are kind of trapped in a doorway, in a door jamb. And you want to send the heart forward, the whole chest forward, the arms are slightly behind. Can you see that? and just take a breath or two. Now you might feel this across the chest, and again you might be feeling that engagement in your back body squeezing the imaginary pencil. Let's inhale, take the arms straight up. Exhale, bring your arms down, bring your hands to your hips. Lean forward, put weight into this front foot so we can step the left foot forward next to the other, standing in mountain pose. We'll take both arms up into the air to finish that sequence. Nice big stretch, arms return to your side. Let's get right into the second side. Bend the knees slightly, shifting weight into the left foot. Press, strong connection, lean forward, feel the gripping of the toes of the left foot. Let's pick up the right foot, start tapping it back until it stops, just like that, heel lifted. I can still feel the weight is forward, so we're shifting the weight back. Pivot that right heel, plant it into the floor. There's our center. Take your hands on your hips, push your pelvis downward. Feel the torso lifting upward. There's that space we need so we can turn to face mostly forward. This is going to feel a little bit different. Actually, we'll have probably more sensation once we get to the second variation of the pose. Inhale, reach both arms up. Exhale, bend your elbows 90 degrees. Let's walk through the door jamb, but the arms are trapped, holding here. Squeeze the shoulder blades together, squeeze the imaginary pencil. Even take a breath, filling up the lungs and feel that expansion across the chest. Now let's inhale, let's shoot the arms straight up. Exhale, let's bring the arms down, bring hands to hips, lean forward, put weight into the left foot, pick up the right foot, step together. We'll inhale, take both arms up into the sky. Another nice stretch, extended mountain pose. Exhale, arms return to your side. Very nice. Feel free to shake things out as you need to. Feel free to get a sip of water, and I'm going to adjust my mat, and we'll get ready for our sun salutation. Here we go. Join me when you're ready. Inhale, extend your arms up into the air. Exhale, spread your wings, bend your knees, sit back into that imaginary chair. Weight shift into the heels, you have some balance. Folding forward, natural curve of the spine. Your fingers might touch your toes. Inhale, slide your hands up the legs, long flat back like a table. This exhale, we're going back down. Bend your knees a whole lot more. Let the back round more. Low enough until you can bring your hands to the floor, put some weight into the hands and start walking both feet back until they're near the back end of your mat. And just straighten the line in the body like this. This is plank pose, the top of a push-up. Breathe in. When you exhale, bend your knees like you're about to kneel down, but actually send your hips up into the air. Tiptoe forward just a little bit, just to help stabilize the body in our inverted pose. We're going to check in with the head and neck by just giving it a little shake so we're not holding too much tension in the head. We're going to continue. We're going to go right away into our lunge. We're going to break it down. Pick up your right foot. We're going to inhale and extend that right leg back behind you towards your back wall. Exhale, bend that right knee quite a bit. Bring that right knee in underneath you towards your chest. As you do so, shift your whole upper body forward until your shoulders are aligned over the wrists. Go ahead and set that right foot down. You can be on your toes. You're going to set your left knee down. We're shifting the weight back so I have less weight on the hands, so I can literally pick up my right foot, bring it up a little closer to the top edge of the mat, or just closer to where my hand is, like this. Relift that left knee. Pivot or turn that left heel to the floor. So we're getting ready for that second version of Warrior One. You can see and feel that you have more distance between the feet. I'm walking my hands back a little bit on the mat so I have more pressure in that back foot. We certainly want that. I'm also rising up to fingertips. If your blocks or books are nearby, you can even use your blocks for this. Can you see me? I'm just kind of using the blocks to help kind of prop myself up like this, re-extending the spine. And then I can finish standing, hinging from hips, rising up, reaching into the air like so, and then just kind of sink into the lunge. Here's our Warrior One. Arms are straight, more lengthening through the sides of the body, more distance between the feet, and because of that distance and you're turning forward, you might feel a little stretch and lengthening through that left hip flexor. Let's continue. You're going to breathe in. Exhale, turn your torso towards your left side of the room as your arms come down to parallel. I'm going to adjust my back foot, right now it's kind of turned in. I want to turn it out. It just feels better on my knee. So do any kind of adjustments you need to with that back foot. Do be sure though that your right knee and toes are pointing forward. We're going to continue because we're getting set up for our next set of postures. We're going to shift forward, angled upper body like so. You don't have to go too far. Rotate your arm so your right hand is reaching downward, maybe just resting on the inner leg while your left hand's reaching straight up. You don't have to go any deeper or lower than this. Here's some other options. Your right arm can rest lightly on your thigh. Your hand could rest on the thigh. If you happen to have a little bit more distance between the feet, you might be able to go a little lower, and I happen to have my block here, and so maybe you can just kind of press the fingertips into the block. So we have this nice opening of the body. Stay here as you're able. We're going to bring this left hand down behind you. Maybe just to your low back. My hand's going to disappear. You won't be able to see my hand, but it's right at my low back. We're going to do something else as you're able. I'm going to rise up just a little bit because I feel like I'm too low in the pose. I'm going to place my hand on my thigh. Now this back left hand, I'm going to imagine it was a belt, and I'm sliding that belt on until my fingertips, can you see my fingers kind of peeking out from behind there? So my fingers are pointing in the same direction as my right knee and toes. I'm still at this angle. And if there's still some movement in this left shoulder, roll it back or pull it back. Not too forcefully. If it doesn't move, don't even worry about it. So just some different sensations here. All right, let's take that belt off. Re-extend that left arm up into the air. We're just going to get some nice shoulder mobility. I like to lift it a little bit, then turn the whole torso, and then fold. Here's my blocks, which are nice right here. But I'm going to come all the way down to the floor, so I'm going to move my blocks out of the way. Hands to the floor, rise up on tiptoes behind me, so I'm in this runner's lunge. Press strongly into the ground with the hands, strong arms, and just kind of pull. It's okay if it's kind of choppy. That's okay. Just slide and pull that right foot back until you're in plank pose again. Bend the knees slightly, send hips into the air, a little tiptoe forward, and there we are once again in downward facing dog. Take a moment just to check in with your head and neck. Nod yes a couple times, shake your head no. Loosen up the neck. Let's inhale now to pick up the left foot and extend the left leg back behind you, reach. It doesn't have to lift high, just straight and strong. Then bend this left knee, bring it in underneath you, towards chest, shift body forward, shoulders will be aligned over the wrists. Immediately set that left foot down. Set the right knee down. Let's get some of that weight off of the hands. I'm just pulling my body weight back. It frees up the hands. I can now go get the left foot, pick it up, place it up a little higher. Replant that left hand, lift the right knee, pivot right heel to the floor. I'm walking the hands back so I can put more weight in that back foot. I am going to use my blocks again because I really liked that. So I can just kind of press into the blocks to help lift myself up a bit so I can extend the spine. Then I can easily hinge from hips with a straight spine, rising up, reaching arms up into the air. Here's my warrior one. Now I do notice I have much more distance between the feet. So I'm in a pretty deep lunge. I really do feel this. I can always adjust. Breathe in. Exhale, let's turn torso towards the right side of the room as the arms come down to parallel. I'm going to do that same adjustment with our right foot. Spin the toes out so my knee doesn't feel too hung up. Check in with the left knee. Left knee and toes are pointing forward. Here's warrior two. Let's get set up for our side angle pose. We reach forward to help angle the upper half of the body, rotate the arms. I'm going to stay up high like this with the hand on the thigh, while the right hand, as best as to your ability, reach straight up. Let's take a couple breaths here. Now you'll be able to see my right hand in a moment when it comes down to my low back. Let's go ahead and do that now. Bring the right hand down to low back. Now you can keep it here just like this, okay? But if you're able, imagine it was a belt that you're just sliding through those loops, and maybe the fingers just kind of point towards the front of your yoga mat. If there's still some mobility in your shoulder, see if you can roll that right shoulder back. Hold it back while the heart opens. Take a couple of breaths. This is getting us ready for some of the binds that we're going to be doing. All right, I'm going to release the belt and inhale to re-extend this right arm back up into the air. Again, I like to lift a little bit, giving me more space. I can easily turn to face the front. Forward fold here. I'm moving to catch the blocks really. Rise up onto tiptoes. Then I can move my blocks out of the way, bringing my hands down to the ground. Here's my runner's lunge. Push firmly into the mat with the hands. It's just a shifting of energy and weight so I can pull or slide that left foot back to meet the other. Returning to plank pose. Strong straight line for a few seconds. You can always do plank with your knees on the floor. Still working your upper body. All right, now go ahead and bring your knees to the floor. We're finished with that pose. Sit back briefly in hero. This is hero pose, just like this. And then sit off to the side, getting off the feet. Swing the legs around to the front. We're going to take our back bend, so do sit in the center of your mat. Be sure your blocks are right nearby. You can easily grab those. Go ahead and roll down onto your back. I'll meet you there in a second. Just adjusting my mat here. Here we go, rolling down, knees to chest. Ooh, a wonderful opportunity just to relax a little bit, re-engage that breath flow, even a little massaging here in the back. I'm just doing some rocking, creating these figure 8 shapes. And now we're ready for our back bend. We'll set the feet onto the floor, keeping the knees bent. Grab your blocks. You're going to inhale to fill up your lungs. Exhale, empty your belly, also to brings energy to the body. With that, lift your hips high enough so you can slide your blocks or books underneath you, and then just sit. Make some adjustments with the blocks, your feet, and even your shoulders and arms. Now, if you're able, I'm trying to get my arms and shoulders a bit underneath me. It's that similar sensation we've done already, as if you were squeezing a pencil along the spine, using the muscles of the back to squeeze, okay? But you don't have to really engage that too strongly in this position. It's just a matter of just kind of getting your arms and shoulders a bit underneath you, okay? If we were standing, it would feel like your arms were behind you, which we will be doing. So let's just hold here and just notice how this is quite relaxed. Keep that relaxation, take some deep breaths. And while we're here, I'm going to start a little story. So we'll be doing a pose called Half Lord of the Fishes. Half only means that we're only doing the pose on one side of the body first, and then we do the second half. So that's why it's called half. Now the position is called Lord of the Fishes. Lord of the Fishes. Very interesting name for a pose. But what is it? Let's take a couple more breaths. Now in Sanskrit, half Lord of the Fishes is Ardha. Ardha means half. Okay, Ardha Matsyendrasana. I keep messing up that name. Matsyendrasana. Matsyendrasana. And that's the name of the pose. That actually means Lord of the Fishes pose. All right, let's come out of our back bend. Pushing feet into the floor, lifting the hips. Move your blocks out of the way. Coming down. Let's do a little stretch here. Extend the legs out front. Reach the arms behind you. Now, Matsyendrasana is named after kind of a wise yogi, Matsyendra. And he is considered the founder of Hatha Yoga. Now, we're doing Hatha Yoga. Simply stated, it's just moving with breath. That's just kind of an umbrella of various yoga or ways to practice the physical aspect of yoga. Let's go ahead and bring the knees into chest. We're going to do a twist here. Let's take the knees down to the left side while your right arm extends to the right side, creating another twist, but really focusing more on the lower half of the body. Now, how did this person become to be the founder of Hatha Yoga? So when we think about the history and tradition of yoga, it's based on a lot of stories, a lot of Hindu mythological stories. 2 more breaths. An important figure in those stories is the Lord Shiva. He has come back up to center. Now Shiva is considered the inventor, let's say, of yoga. He's the founder of all yoga, the teacher of yoga. He created yoga. Okay? Knees to the right side, left arm to the left. And Shiva comes in many forms, and he has many personalities as well. But just think of him as the creator of yoga. 2 more breaths. Let's go ahead and bring the knees back up to center. And then we're going to rock our way up to seated, or if that's a little uncomfortable, you can just roll to one side and just press yourself up until you come to a seated position like this. Once we're seated, we're going to come back to hands and knees. Okay, just swing around carefully, come to hands and knees like we did earlier. Let's set ourselves up for downward facing dog. You're going to step your hands forward, spread out your fingers, press firmly into the floor with the hands, strong arms like we did before, tuck your toes. Feel free to do cat and cow, starting with cow, that's our in-breath. Exhale, round it out into cat. Hold cat pose, lifting your knees, send your hips into the air, adjust your feet and hands. There's down dog. Do one more little head shake there. Let's walk the feet forward, just towards center of the mat is fine until your feet are flat on the ground, sliding your fingertips towards your toes. Let's inhale and rise up halfway, right there. This is simply called half forward fold. Ardha, remember, means half. Right there. And shifting your weight into your heels, bend your knees. Inhale, let's reverse our swan dive. Let's come up to standing, reach up into the air, and exhale, bring your arms down to your side. Now we've made it back up to standing, let's do another posture where we bring the arms behind us. I mentioned this while we were in our bridge pose. I'm just going to turn sideways here. It's open to the chest, but also gets into the shoulders once again. Together, inhale, reach up into the air. Big stretch. Exhale, bring your arms down, but as you bring them down, reach behind you, like so, as if you're reaching for the back corners of your mat. Very strong, active arms. You can even spread out your fingers. Even feel like you're holding on to a box behind you. Feel free to even tip your chin up just a little bit to create a little bit more space across the chest, and take some deep breaths. While you're taking your deep breaths, I'll continue with my story. Now, Shiva has a counterpart, and one name for this counterpart is Parvati. Parvati. Now, one day, Shiva and Parvati are, let's say they're out sailing, just in a little rowboat, out on the lake. 2 more deep breaths. Good, relax your arms to your side and feel that energy shift. So while they're out on their rowboat, Shiva is teaching Parvati and really telling Parvati all about yoga, all the ins and outs, all the secrets and the mysteries of yoga, telling everything to Parvati. Let's continue our flow. Inhale, take the arms all the way up. And exhale, spread your wings, bend your knees, sit back into your imaginary chair as you carefully fold, making your way down, maybe touching your toes. Inhale, slide your hands up to your shins or knees and extending your spine, creating a long, flat back. Exhale, fold and bend. All the way down we go. Plant the hands into the floor and walk both feet back. Once again to our plank pose, a strong straight line like this. Feel free to modify by bringing knees to the floor. Take another deep breath in and out. And then we are going to come down to the floor. So bend your knees, kneel down, sit back briefly in hero, just like this. And let's sit off to the side, swing the legs around to the front, and just stay like this. All right, so now we're getting set up for our posture of the day. Half Lord of the Fishes, and I'm almost done with my story. So let's grab some props. Now here, like I said, this is all quite optional because you can do this pose without these props. If you have a strap, grab your strap, or if you happen to have a nice, little hand towel, you can grab your hand towel. I'm actually going to do this pose without props, okay? But I'll show you how you can in a moment. All right, let's sit nice and tall with the legs straight out front. Flex the feet to energize the legs and to help straighten the legs. And place your hands by your hips on the floor here. And just push into the ground to help you extend the spine. So you're nice and tall, just like this. Couple breaths. So, Shiva is telling Parvati all about the mysteries of yoga. But meanwhile, there was a fish that was just in the water but came to complete stillness and sat and listened to Shiva tell all the mysteries of yoga to Parvati. Take a breath. Now relax. Let's get ready for our pose. So we're just going to continue to lean back into the hands a little bit. Bend the knees. Actually, just keep the right leg straight. Okay? Keep the right leg straight. I'm going to turn it at an angle just a little bit. Hopefully you'll be able to see this. So I'm keeping the right leg straight. I'm bending the left knee. But what I'm going to do is actually step this left foot over the right leg, like so. Sitting up nice and tall. I'm just going to hold on to this left shin with my right hand. I'm just going to reposition my left hand that's behind me. Instead of leaning back, I want to push into the floor to sit up nice and tall. Here, again, you can kind of be very aware of how this feels on your knee. If you can, this foot can come in much closer, up towards thigh or hip. That does put more bend in the knee. But if you need to adjust that, just send it forward. Okay? Now, this right arm, different things we can do for our bind and twist. Okay? One thing, you can just hold on to the knee right here, a little bit of a twist to the left side, and that's your pose. That's one variation. You can stay just like that. Here's another variation. Hug the elbow or arm around the knee like so, and it kind of lifts you up, which might even free up this back hand. And you can bring this left hand around your body. Now this is a binding posture. So it potentially could be a binding posture. And this is where, like I said, I'm not going to do this officially, but you can place the strap through the opening here, and your right hand would hold onto the strap, and then the left hand is going to bring it back behind me, holding onto the strap, and that could be your bind. Okay, but we're actually doing a different version of this. So left hand stays on the floor behind, the right elbow can come to the outside of this left bent knee, and we're sitting up nice and tall. This is another variation of the pose. If that feels like a little bit too much, let's just go here. I really like this version. And this is also a different version by extending the leg out front. We can also bend this leg, which I really can't do at the moment. Bending that knee so it's something like this. Okay? Maybe the second side will do that. So with that, right leg straight, left foot stepped over, bent knee, holding on to this left knee with the right hand, left hand behind us to sit up nice and tall. Half Lord of the Fishes. This is the pose, or a variation. Let's come out of the posture. Let's just come back to staff pose. Sitting up nice and tall. I'm actually going to turn around, okay, to do the other side. And almost finished with the story. So I mentioned that fish in the water, part of the story, listened and heard everything about the mysteries of yoga. So Shiva noticed that this fish was in the water and didn't get upset, because sometimes he does get upset. So he saw that the fish learned everything about yoga and blessed him and gave him a new name and called him Matsyandra. And that means Lord of the Fishes. And so we can think of Matsyandra maybe not only as a fish, but actually as maybe a human or individual who then became a great teacher of yoga, became a great teacher of yoga. Let's continue. So I'm going to keep my left leg, actually I'm going to bend both knees because we're going to do a different version of this. Bend both knees, and instead of keeping the left leg straight, I'm going to take this left foot and kind of slide it underneath the bent right knee, like so. Leaning back so I can step the right foot over the left knee. Okay, you can still do this with the left leg extended if you want to, or try the bent knee variation. Again, just depending on how your knees feel today. I'm sitting up nice and tall. You could thread that strap or towel through the legs if you want, or keep this version. Right hand's behind you, pushing into the floor to extend your spine. The left hand, you can just simply hold onto the knee or shin, sitting up as tall as you can. Exhale, again, trying to turn on your own, not pulling yourself into the posture. Alrighty? Now when you see pictures of this pose, you might see this variation. You're going to see the elbow on the outside of the knee or thigh with the palm up. You're going to see something like this. If you're able to do that, go ahead and come to this posture. But I'm noticing it's a little more intense, let's say. So I like to soften it up a little bit for our soft flow practice. So Matsyandra became the Lord of the Fishes, or a great sage and wise person, a teacher of yoga, and eventually the founder of Hatha Yoga. And so I like seated twisting postures because many of them really refer to or are named after really wise people, wise sage-like teachers in the yoga tradition. So when we're in these seated postures, I want to be sure that we're sitting up proudly in honor of those great teachers. So make sure you feel very lengthened in your spine, sitting up tall. So here it is, half Lord of the Fishes. We did both sides. It's a twist, it's also a hip opener, and potentially a bind. All right, let's unwind the pose. Let's re-extend the legs, coming back to staff pose. And hands behind you, or just by your hip spot, actually, just to sit up nice and tall. Couple of breaths. So in addition to our getting into this featured pose, you learned a little yoga history. All right, let's go ahead and lie down. Grab your blocks, sitting in the center of your mat. Go ahead and roll down onto your back. Feel free to hug those knees back into the chest. A little movement like we did earlier to massage the back. Circle the feet a little bit just to loosen up the ankles. Take some deep breaths. We're going to do one more bridge pose. A few more twists. A couple more stretches. And then really guide our way to our final resting posture, Shavasana. Let's set the feet onto the floor. Grab your blocks. Breathe in. Exhale, engaging your core center, lifting hips high enough, sliding your books or blocks underneath you. Again, taking the seat. Adjusting the body as you need to so you feel quite comfortable. Again, you might take the shoulders and get them underneath you without squeezing too intensely to center, holding onto that imaginary pencil, but just imagine that's kind of the action you're taking, but keep this relaxed. Three more breaths. So we learned about Ardha Matsyendrasana, half Lord of the Fishes. The snooping fish, listening to the great mysteries of yoga. Two more breaths. And then we'll lift the hips and smooth those blocks out of the way. Carefully come back down to the earth. Feel free to stretch this out. Lengthen the legs out front, arms behind you for a nice stretch. And again, let's hug the knees into chest. Let's do a leg extension. We're going to set the left foot down just briefly and extend the right leg up into the air. Don't worry if the knee needs to bend. It's okay. And just hold on to the leg with the hands. And it's okay if the leg is out at an angle. No worries. It doesn't have to be perpendicular to the floor at all. And if you happen to have your strap, you could wrap your strap around the bottom of the foot and then hold on to the ends of the strap or center portions of the strap to help extend the leg if you want. But we're not going to be here too long. Just to get a little extra stretch in the hamstrings today. Let's go ahead and bend that knee. Set the foot down. We'll hug the left knee in and extend that leg, holding onto the leg. Keep the knee bent as you need to. Maybe you'll feel a light stretch in the hamstring. Some nice deep breaths. Alrighty. Let's go ahead and bend that knee, placing the foot back down onto the floor. Let's take a twist. Hug both knees into chest. Let's take the knees over to the left side of the room. Right arm to the right. Okay, we did this earlier as a nice introduction to rotating the lower half of the body, and we're just returning to that now. More of a way of relieving the body. So this can be a little bit more relaxed if you want. Maybe placing an object, a prop, between the knees so you don't over rotate the body. So either between the knees, or even place like a cushion, a pillow, or a block or book even underneath the left leg. Again, so you don't over rotate and strain the back or hips. So we're going to hold this a tiny bit longer. Two more breaths. And let's come back up to center here. Pause in center so your spine gets to realign. And then we'll take the knees down to the right side. Again, you can use props. I'm going to use a prop for this one. So I'm placing a prop underneath the right leg so the leg doesn't have to reach the floor at all. And I'm placing another block, you can even be a pillow or a cushion, between the knees. And again, right here, I don't feel like I'm overly rotating. I feel very comfortable. Slight rotation. Nice, easy placement of the hips. Feels nice. It's always nice to use props. Even if you think you don't need them, just have some handy. You know, I always bring out this, big cushion. I don't always use it, but it's just nice to have nearby. It's the same with blocks and straps and pillows and blankets and things. Even if you don't use them, they're nearby. Just in case. Like, oh, I could really use a block here, and it's right there, ready to go. Let's come back up to center. Let's do a couple hip openers. First, what I call frog on its back. So just draw the knees into chest and take the legs wide. So just holding onto the knees, and I'm just kind of manipulating the legs so they kind of open up here. So I get a natural stretch in the inner legs. So it's like having frog's legs and you're lying on your back. It's a variation, what I call a variation of happy baby pose. We would do this for happy baby pose, except we would then kick the feet up into the air like this and holding on to the soles of the feet. But for soft flow, I like to do kind of frog on its back. I made up that name. Here's another version, or another hip opener. Let's bring the knees together, set the feet down. Okay, the legs are touching, and let the knees open up to either side of the room. Soles of the feet touch. Again, pay attention to how your knees bend. If you can draw the heels in closely towards the pelvis or slide the feet forward so there's less bend in the knees, and you might even find that your hips or the legs open up a little wider. Okay, so it's reclining, bound angle pose, or reclining cobbler's pose, just to get a little stretch in the inner legs. 3 more breaths. After that third breath, we can bring the knees together once again. And then we'll extend the legs out front and let's do one more stretch with the arms reaching behind you, just to get that good length through the body. Decompress the spine, nice lengthening. And then when you're done, just bring your arms down by your side. Take one more full, deep, and complete breath in. Fill yourself up. Exhale completely. You can breathe out through the mouth, and as you're exhaling, feel your whole body relax. Let the feet just kind of naturally fall open, the legs go heavy and fall open. This also opens the hips. Feel your back just settle into the floor, your shoulders, the back of your head. Eyes can remain open softly, or feel free to close your eyes. And here we are. We made it to Shavasana, the end of our practice. Just settling in, not really thinking of anything, but if you are thinking of anything, maybe bring our story to mind, the story of Matsyandra, the fish that heard the lessons of yoga. In a way, in a very literal way, he was a student, just as we are students. We all continue to learn the lessons of life and hear the lessons of yoga. Feel free to stay here as long as you'd like, especially if you feel quite relaxed and don't want to move right away. Just stay in this moment. Become as still as you can, just like that fish in the water. Listen. Listen to all the lessons. That's how we really learn, is when we become very still and become very quiet. That's when the answers, all the lessons come to us. When you are ready to move, start with breath. Take 5 slow, deep breaths. As you're breathing, feeling this new energy permeate through your entire body. Feel movement return to your body. And when you're ready to move, take your time. As you're able, move in slow motion. I'm just bending my knees, feet on the floor, so I can just help manipulate my body, rolling onto one side of the body, and even just a brief pause here in this nurturing pose. And then pressing up, still moving slowly, so you can return to seated. Feel free to sit on something soft. It could be your pillow or blanket. Crossing your legs, sitting up as tall as can be in that nice lengthened spine. Arms can relax down by your side. Hands can just rest in your lap. Or you can bring hands to heart center. They're both correct. Once you're here in stillness, take one more deep breath in and out. And as we come to the close of our practice together, we bow, saying, Namaste.
Thank you so much for watching and participating in this yoga lesson. To help us with the channel so we can continue to bring you more content, please like the video and subscribe to the channel. It's really appreciated. Namaste.